Red Dead Redemption 2 takes place during the dying days of the West, which I find is used to great effect in its story, it revolving around a gang of outlaws from the West trying their best to escape the modern world. With this, it gets to portray what is to me a very interesting and aesthetic time period. A time when the forces of the industrialized world finally finished their conquest of the land that they own. After its release, it garnered an overwhelmingly positive response from players of this game, with its story, graphics, gameplay, and world being top of the game. Another thing that most who had played the game could agree on was that this character right here, Micah Bell III, was one of the most despicable and disgusting video game characters they've ever come across, cheating and betraying Dutch's gang at every opportunity. Over the course of the game, Micah basically shoots an entire town, is racist and misogynistic, betrays the gang by letting the Pinkerton detective agency know where they are, and sways Dutch to be more and more like Micah himself, ignoring the needs of everyone but himself. Because of these actions, most basically hate him. But isn't that a bit hypocritical of them? To understand my questioning here, we have to first understand who the gang is. In the game, they refer to themselves as one of the few people left in America living a free life, like man according to his nature. And it's fair to say that most people who play this game subscribe to this point of view as well. And that's all good and nice for them, so long as they are able to escape the grasps of the law. But here's the thing. The way most of them react to what Micah does over the course of the game goes completely against this notion of the nature of man that the gang claims to follow. Okay, so here's the deal. According to 17th century English philosopher Thomas Hobbes, the natural state of man is a brutish, chaotic, violent, and bickering state of being, in which life is short, hard, and full of pain. That's why we have society in the first place, he argues. To keep ourselves away from our natural selves and do our best to live a good, long, and fruitful life. But according to our protagonists over in Dutch's little gang, the natural free state of man is to be kind to people and share some of your stuff with your community, so that everyone gets what they need. Am I the only one who sees some kind of flaw in this? Claiming to be against government, but already enforcing some kind of tax? To me, this all seems a bit too authoritarian social communist to be of any free state of man whatsoever. With that out of the way, and us having established that Dutch's gang is nothing more than a beta, commie, social something gang, it's time to examine Micah. Just looking at how he looks and dresses, it's clear as day that he is one of the few prime men in the game that are actually in his natural state. His actions do quite reflect this too. He just does whatever the heck he wants. Shoot up an entire town and brutally murdering someone who slightly wronged you in the past while you're at it? Sure! Betray your new gang of outlaws for some quick cash? Sure thing. Manipulate the others to take your side? Oh boy, you know it! He is truly the living definition of a Chad in his natural environment, not giving a fuck about what society expects of him. Well, was anyways. The thing is that most people who play this game pretend that they aren't like Micah, hanging on to the common feminine courtesy of civilization to tell themselves that they are in fact better. But haven't you also manipulated people before to align them more towards you? If not consciously, then really
think you little about!
And see if you can think of an example where you have ever done so subconsciously, only realizing it afterwards. Is it coming to you yet? Because it should. Deep down, no matter how nicely we try to dress it up, we can't deny our own natural state, our true selves. A natural self that Micah lives to the max as an outlaw, way more so than even our protagonists. So imagine, if you will, yourself as Micah for a bit. You've heard of this gang of outlaws that value freedom and the natural state of man above all else. Finding yourself interested after your previous partners are gone, you jump on this opportunity as soon as you possibly can. You join them only to find them fleeing up into the mountains not long after, with stricter rules and more of an authority than you thought. But hey, that might just be because of the harsh conditions we are currently facing, you think to yourself. So you soldier on. But when you get out of that difficult situation, the rules don't stop. So what do? You try convincing the others in your ways, of course, while finding ways to fuck them over so they would be more willing to go with you in what would be to them your outrageous ideas. Heck, you can even cooperate with the law to get what you want, for the gang to flee as far as possible, so you can live your last dying days in true freedom, away from any laws and government, or die trying. When you put it like this, it's quite clear that Micah is the only character in Red Dead Redemption 2 to not be affected by civilization's feminizing beams, like the rest of the cast have been. Of course, Micah has his supporters, but there aren't many of them at all, and I wouldn't really call them characters anyways. It's not like any of the other characters chose to be like this though. Arthur, Dutch, John, and the rest of the crew have all grown up in an environment with civilized values, while Micah had his domestic situation way more similar to that of man's natural stage, ergo, violence and brutishness. Because of this, it's fair to say that even while being thieving and lying pieces of shit, the gang is lying on a deeper level about something way more important than their final big score: their own identity. And though they try their best to go against it, civilization has already taken a hold of them, way more than they realize. And even though some members of the gang joined Micah's side by the end, whether it be because of Dutch doing so, or because they realized their own hypocrisy, it is ultimately too late. The government has finally caught up with them, and those that don't die fighting it, or leave that part of their life behind, are stuck hiding out the last days of their life in a place far from any other decent human beings, always on the run. On this level, the main idea of the game is represented in multiple ways through the story. Those who start to embrace man's nature in the face of civilization, like Micah and Dutch, and those who choose to accept civilization and all that comes with it by the end, like Arthur and John. Both of these camps get their own redemption, either by seeing through their own lies and being more true to what you claim to be and want to become, or accepting the part of civilization within you that has always been there. With all that said, my name is Blop, and thank you for having come to my TED Talk.